Hey, everybody, this is your resident baseball connoisseur, JP Steele. And hey, pitchers and catchers report any day. Spring training's just around the corner. And that means baseball season is upon us. Being that the granddaddy of them all, America's pastime, is coming back, that means all of us are brushing up our knowledge on fantasy baseball and getting ready to sign up for some leagues. Some of us have already signed up and are getting our league started. So what I'm going to do at this time is give you a rundown of 5 players who should carry some significant red flags. I'm not saying don't draft them, but I'm saying buyer beware. Number 1 player, Charlie Blackmon. Wait a minute. Beware of a player who from 2016 to 2019 averaged 32 homers and 11 steals while hitting .315 with a .934 OPS, a .558 slugging percentage, and a .376 OBP. Those are MVP caliber numbers. I mean, you can win a championship with that, right? Well, maybe, but let's look at the tale of the two tapes, shall we? Number 1, let's look at Charlie Blackmon's numbers at Coors Field. While in the friendly confines of home in Colorado, he hits .350 with a .409 OPS, a .591 slugging percentage, and while at home in Colorado, he has a .350 batting average. He also has a 1,000 slugging percentage, has 100 home runs, and has a .409 OBP. That's pretty impressive, guys. I mean, that is alone makes him number 1 overall pick, right? Well, let's transition to Blackmon on the road. On the road, let's look at those numbers. .259 batting average, .311 OPS, OBP. On the road, .259 batting average, .311 OBP, .426 slugging percentage, .737 OPS, and 78 homers. Now, of those 78 homers, 24 of them came at Chase Field in Phoenix or Petco Park in San Diego. Now, look, I understand those latter numbers aren't totally horrific, but ask yourself this question. Ignore what he does at home and what his overall numbers are on the board. Just take a look at these road numbers and realize that you're going to have to deal with half a season of Charlie Blackmon on the road. Is this really worth taking in the first 5 or 6 rounds? We're just talking a normal baseball league. We're not talking a dynasty league where I don't touch this guy before the 12th round. I mean, look, if you get 82 games of Charlie Blackmon at home, you're going to win a league title. If you get Charlie Blackmon in 82 games on the road, it's going to be a major problem. Buyer beware. Number 2, Josh Hader, or any closer for that matter. Other than kickers, there's not a position in both real and fantasy sports that's more replaceable than a closer. If you're in a league that measures all the stats for pitchers and not just an individual stat for saves, closers are an absolute dime a dozen. I'll give you a prime example. Heading into the 2020 season, Brad Hand was listed in almost every publication and website as a top 3 closer. He was one of those guys you had to have to, quote, win a fantasy championship, end quote. Let's fast forward 12 months. Hand heads into the regular season, not even a top 3 closer, but he's not even a closer on his own team. If you look at the way these teams cycle through closers on a year-by-year basis, there's no reason why you should even consider taking one anywhere near the top 10, 12 rounds. As a matter of fact, I've won fantasy championships picking closers in the last 2 rounds and scouring the waiver wire. I recommend you do the same thing. Trust me, closers are not worth it. They're a dime a dozen, and managers have a quick trigger hammer when it comes to pulling them and replacing them with someone else. I recommend you stay far away from them as quickly as you can and pay attention to that waiver wire. Find out who's going to wind up coming in and being your championship winning closer, because you could get one off the waiver wire just as quickly as you could get one off of the top 5 rounds. Number 3, Gary Sanchez. Look, I know Gary Sanchez can hit the ball 500 miles anytime he puts the bat on the ball. But take a look at these numbers, folks. In 2 of the last 3 years, he's hit 186, 147, and 232. Those are his batting averages. 2 of the last 3 years, this man hit well below the Mendoza line. Yes, he hits homers for days. So does Chris Davis of Baltimore. And there's nobody rushing to the fences to grab to Chris Davis anytime soon. Look, catchers are another position that are a dime a dozen. Unless you're getting Adley Rutschman or maybe Dalton Varsho, you can wait for a catcher. Certainly avoid Gary Sanchez because, believe me, the juice is not worth the squeeze. Number 4, Michael Brantley. Look, this isn't about what Michael Brantley does when he's on the field. There may not be a more underrated player in baseball, as a matter of fact, over the last decade. I mean, he is truly a jack of all trades. You need 10 to 20 homers a year, Brantley's going to give it to you. You need 10 to 20 steals a year, again, Michael Brantley's your guy. He's going to average over 300 a season. He has a 365 average in OBP. I mean, his OPS is around the nines. He's going to do you a little bit of everything. So why are the red flags? Point blank, the guy is truly Tulowitzki 2.0. His injury issues are well documented, cannot stay on the field. This is a player that has averaged 106 games a year. It's tough to depend on. When he's in, he's very good, but he's not in far more than he's in. That's something to pay close attention to, folks. I'm not saying don't pick him, but be prepared to have a backup plan in mind and be prepared to use that IR spot early and often. Last but certainly not least, Trevor Bauer. The 2020 Cy Young Award winner? Red flags? You're kidding me, right? Well, quick question for you guys, trivia-wise. Prior to 2020, which did Bauer have more of? Seasons with an ERA above 6 or ones below 2? I'll allow you a few seconds to stop and think about this. If you guessed 2, you'd be incorrect. See, prior to his Cy Young dominant season last year, which ironically, or was it really, coincided with a walk year, Bauer had a career ERA of 4.04, a whip of just a hair under 1.30, and an average 147 strikeouts a year. As I said about Blackman above, these numbers aren't horrendous by any stretch of the imagination. However, was Bauer's absurd numbers in 2020 the case of him putting his best foot forward to get a big-time huge payday? Who knows? Things we do know is Bauer is a quirky individual, and we know he'll be playing in his hometown of Los Angeles. Those two things are often a recipe for disaster. 2, sometimes after getting paid, people sometimes slip and regress big time. These are things to pay attention to with Trevor Bauer as he heads into the age 31 season. Again, I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I'm not saying he's going to kill you, but you're more likely to see Bauer pre-Cincinnati than you are the one that you saw as a Cincinnati Red. Hey, guys, just some advice to pay attention to as you head into your fantasy baseball drafts. I am JP Steele, your baseball connoisseur, and you're listening to RGTR Sports.